I'd like to take a minute just to kind of tell you a little bit about my background and where I've been and where I came from. My name is Nick Martin. I started in the fire department in 1994 in my hometown of Swarthmore, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia. I realized at a very young age that I loved the fire department. I grew up in a firefighting family. My older brother and my dad were firefighters, and to tell you the truth, I don't really ever remember a time when I wasn't around the firehouse. You know, I was the guy that was going up there when I was just 2, 3 years old, and then later running up to the firehouse or riding my bike up there when the house siren would blow so that I could open the big wooden doors. And, you know, as soon as I could, I, of course, joined the fire department at a very young age. So I knew that I wanted to be a career firefighter. When I was very young. So fortunately, when I got out of high school, just when I was 18 years old, I got hired. I worked in a couple of small departments outside of the Philadelphia area, cross-staffing different units in a combination fire department. And I kind of just knew that I wanted to get on a little bit of a bigger, busier department. So I kind of ended up migrating down south. So I ended up moving down to the Prince George's County, Maryland area and joining this little place called the Kentland Volunteer Fire Department. Um, it's a fire department right on the border of Washington, D.C., a very busy fire department, and they had this awesome program where they would give you a free place to live as long as you ran fires for them. So I was happy in my young years to take advantage of that and be a live-in firefighter at Kentland for a number of years. And that's really kind of one of the pillars of my fire service experience because it's where I met so many talented, motivated firefighters that really inspired me with the mindsets that I have today, and that taught me really everything that I knew or that I know. So while I was volunteer at Kentland, I was fortunate to get hired by the Fairfax City Fire Department in Fairfax, Virginia. I worked for Fairfax City for just about a year or so before getting hired by the Washington, D.C. Fire Department. I got hired in D.C. and appointed to Tower Ladder 3, which is the White House ladder truck. Worked there for several years before going up the street to the 4th Battalion, where I worked at Engine 11 and Truck 6. After a while, I got promoted to sergeant, and my first assignment as a sergeant was a battalion chief's aide in the 5th Battalion. I was a chief's aide in the 5th Battalion for a while, and then went to the 2nd Battalion and also worked as a chief's aide there. And that experience, driving a battalion chief around and helping them on fire grounds, was really kind of where I got also a lot of the mindset and experience and practices, particularly that we're going to talk about in this aggressive command program. So I worked in D.C. for a little over 10 years, promoted to lieutenant, and then took advantage of an opportunity to take a position with the City of Columbia, South Carolina, as the chief of training and a battalion chief. So the Columbia Fire Department, we'll talk about a little bit more later on, is the largest fire department in the state, protects the state capital, and it's a very unique fire department. It covers about 800 square miles, and everything from downtown high-rises, state capitol, with 4 people on everything, to the absolute middle of nowhere, you know, 2 guys on an engine, 1 guy's on a tanker, you know, going to smaller house fires with no water supply, doing all rural water supply work. So it was a very diverse operational environment, and I'll kind of tell you a little bit more about my story there, and some of the things that I had to deal with as far as command stuff goes. But I worked in Columbia for about 6 years before taking a position where I am now in the city of Salisbury, North Carolina. We're about 40 minutes north of uptown Charlotte. We're kind of a medium-sized department. We operate about 25 people on duty out of 6 firehouses, protecting a small city and providing a lot of mutual aid into our surrounding county, which also, again, gives us a pretty diverse operational environment in terms of dealing with different building types, some rural water supply, a lot of hydrants in the area, working with some volunteers and some variable staffing and all that kind of stuff. So